boxed, even generals in the British Army, the most senior warrant officer in the army. And there are the men he's going to parade, suitably arranged in divisions of 10 by 50 beneath the town of Arromanches, which they took and liberated 50 years ago. They're back, proud and ready, bemedaled, and you'll be bewitched to see this ceremony upon this beach. Terry Davis, the director of music. We asked him if he was used to, because we weren't, having bands upon the beach. He told us that on the rehearsal here, on this gold beach, at the end of the rehearsal, his musicians were 6 inches deeper in than they had been at the beginning. There are phalanxes of veterans here assembled upon this gold beach. Overlord recreated here in 1994. Present-day soldiers of 3rd Close Support Regiment are as much in awe of what these veterans did upon these beaches 50 years ago as any of us.
Our French television coverage continues with the American military band leading now the march past the heads of state and the heads of government, marching proudly from east to west. President Clinton taking the salute. And the crowd standing, and there the Stars and Stripes and the Colour Party. And the Honour Detachment marching behind them, as President Clinton looks down, is made up of members of all the units that have developed from the regiments that participated in the 1944 landings. Let me give you the roll call of honour. The 1st United States Army, the 1st Infantry Division, the 2nd Infantry Division, the Rangers, the 4th Infantry, the 9th Infantry, 7 Corps Artillery, 101st Airborne, the 8th Air Force, the 9th Air Corps, the 5th Corps, the 29th Infantry Division, 5th Corps Artillery, 7th, the 90th Infantry, the 79th, the 82nd, and of course the Western Naval Task Force. Crowd now cheering to the echo. And coming on now. This is the British contingent, led by the central band of the RAF. Wing Commander Barry Hingley is in charge. A stirring sound. The Central RAF Band, one of the last of the bands to be actually taken out of Dunkirk. And it's quite interesting, we're actually arriving back here on Normandy just a week or so after D-Day, because it was felt the troops needed some entertainment. So the last to leave occupied France and one of the first bands to go back in. Now the Queen and His Royal Highness the Duke of Edinburgh stand as the British march past. And there, the British colours carried by a young officer cadet. His name, Julius Caesar. He's the 18th generation of his family to carry that proud name. And his grandfather, with the same name, actually fought here in Normandy, and I'm told he's watching proudly as his grandson carries those colours before Her Majesty the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh. Another Julius Caesar looking down. This is the Normandy Company. It was formed in 1947 in commemoration of those deeds that were carried out in the campaign in Normandy. Now, hard on their heels, almost before the British have actually left the the stand come the Canadians. Led by the Canadian military band. The band is the Royal Artillery. There, the Canadian colours. And there, the Governor-General and his wife. And there, the troops. It's a Canadian inter-army contingent with elements from all the army corps. There they take the salute. The Canadians.
Military Academy at Sandhurst, the most senior NCO in the British Army, and he will command this parade in the presence of his sovereign.
This is Gold Beach.
Arrived, let's go over to Vivian White.
The royal party has just arrived here. Prince Charles and the Duke of York are there with Princess Anne, the Princess Royal, and behind them, to their right, the General Michael Jackson, in charge of all this. Prince Charles dressed as a colonel of the Royal Dragoons. The Duke of York, of course, a commander himself. Gloucester will be here, and Kent too, and the Duke of Edinburgh, and later Her Majesty will come across from Omaha Beach, and arriving soon, someone who expresses herself what they were there to fight for. Madame Simone Veil, whom you see there, the Minister of Social Affairs and Health in the present French government, who at 16, when all this happened, was in Auschwitz concentration camp. But in reality, to pay tribute to them, although Prince of Wales, as the heir to the throne, and Her Majesty are those to whom these veterans will constitutionally pay tribute. In fact, the tribute is to them. The salute is to them, and they, the veterans, will be saluting those who are not here.
And the close association of the royal family with Her Majesty's Armed Forces is not only delineated by the uniform which they wear. It is a very close personal thing, and they are now going to perform what was described in the overall plans as a bomb burst. They scatter out into the open square of veterans, which, as you see, is still forming up. Still, they march onto the beach even after the royal party has arrived, and that gives you an idea of the chaos and confusion on the roads behind this little town, where all the world has suddenly concentrated on this little strip of Normandy.
At the last count, 230 busfuls of veterans determined to parade and their sovereign. If D-Day was about logistics, so is this commemoration. John.
And it certainly...
Picking out fellow sailors, no doubt, but well qualified to talk to any ex-serviceman because of his own personal experience and the many offices which he holds. Yesterday we saw him at the airborne occasion at Vanville as Colonel-in-Chief of the Canadian Airborne Forces. Her Royal Highness Princess Margaret I once met a veteran who had had the privilege of meeting Princess Margaret, who said she knew more about my regimental history than I did, and I thought I was a bit of an expert. And that's the kind of conversation which is taking place down there.
The young Princess Margaret with Elizabeth, a few weeks before the invasion, with the king in conditions of great secrecy, went to see a display of gliding and parachuting, one of the last rehearsals before the invasion of Europe in 1944. They were privy to the great secret.
Which has been playing for, what, an hour now, I should think, has provided delight, not only for the veterans, but of course for the thousands and thousands of spectators, official and unofficial.
The inhabitants of Arromanches and those watching this parade have been perhaps almost astonished to see what the British set upon their beach here this year in 1994, as some of the Germans were, as the fog cleared, to see the force that they'd marshaled here, ready to liberate and take the beaches of Normandy. And Her Majesty the Queen, in this helicopter of the Queen's flight, is coming now from Arromanches east towards our Gold Beach, to her troops, of whom she is Commander-in-Chief, to review them and to see them parade in front of her. 1,000 upon 1,000 of them. 7,000 we expect altogether to marshal upon this beach now. There he is, Brigadier Sir Alexander Stanier. Strains the bluebirds over the white cliffs of Dover, the men who sailed away 100 miles to land in these Normandy waters and wade ashore.
And as 10 years ago, the members of the Military Vehicles Appreciation and Restoration Society are much in evidence. Here you